We are here with Anna Mwalago. Anna, let's start. When you started your journey as a comedian here in the US, you had a challenge. Your accent kept coming up as a way to discriminate against you, but you didn't give up. You kept actually using that same topic in your stand-up comedies. Tell us about that. How challenging was that?
Well, actually, back in my country, Kenya, I'm a performing artist. I started way when I was like 8 years old. And at that time I was doing mostly music, poetry, and then in high school I got into a lot of acting. And so even after high school, before going to college, I got into a theater company called Heartstrings Kenya, where we were doing comedy and farces and all that kind of plays. But when I came here, I really didn't want to call myself a comedian because, you know, back in Africa then, this is like 20 years ago, I'm aging myself, comedians were looked like people who were foolish, you know, people who are not smart, you know.
Who are not serious.
Yes, who are not serious. And so I know myself as a performing artist. So coming here, and then I started here as a spoken word artist. So I was doing my poetry, but my poetry was funny. Before I did a poem, I would tell you a scenario and people started laughing. So it's one of my actually videos that made it viral on Facebook because I was performing for the White House officials, and it went all over Africa, more than 2.1 million views. And they were like, oh, she's so funny, she's a comedian. I was like, oh, I'm a comedian? Yeah. But all this time I call myself a performing artist. I never wanted to say I'm a comedian.
You didn't know how much money comedians make in this country.
Yes. But no, when I found, of course I know now they make a lot of money. But it took some time for me to actually call myself a comedian.
Listen.
Yes.
Comedians who keep their accents, I think, are killing it now.
Yes.
Let me give you an example of Anne Kansime. When I say to Anne Kansime, I want her to keep her accent because, like, one act that really stuck in my head, she's like, you don't want to marry me, eh? You are a risk taker. I remember that one. So every time I hear the word risk taker, I'm like, you know.
No, actually, for me, more than what they say, the accent, the facial expression, and the that is funny by itself. That puts an element.
No, the thing is, you have to be original. You have to be authentic. So for me, even though my accent was a problem for some people, to me it wasn't. I used it as my niche because then I knew that I have tapped a market that nobody has, that people will be like, oh, I want to see that African performer, or I want to see that African comedian. And so it went that even people who invited me, well, it's because of my accent. It's because of my authenticity. So even when I perform, it was because, oh, she's being something different, a new flavor.
So you're